Greetings and welcome everyone to my review of Viktor by Shorebound Studios. Viktor is a 2D action platformer set in the world of Eos, which is separated by two realms, the Overworld, ruled by Zane, and the Netherworld, ruled by Mephistopheles. After enough time had passed, Mephistopheles' thirst for power could not be quenched, so he attacked the Overworld, and in retaliation, the Overworld sent their most powerful people to tackle Mephistopheles. Unfortunately, they were overthrown and Mephistopheles granted them even more power, turning them to his side. And that leads to Viktor. Viktor is the last hope of the Overworld. If Viktor fails, the Overworld shall become Mephistopheles'. But that's enough of the story. Let's go on to the gameplay. The gameplay of Viktor is fairly straightforward for an action platformer. You can use the mouse to aim and press the left mouse button to fire. The W, A, S, and D keys are for moving, and the game also supports X input controllers, and all buttons are remappable, both for keyboard and the controllers. However, you cannot remap actions to the buttons on the side of your mouse, which is unfortunate. After you finish the tutorial level, you are introduced to a level select screen. From here, you can choose whichever level you want to play first. In order to beat these levels, you must use all of Viktor's powers to your advantage. Viktor starts off with just dual pistols, a short-range teleport mechanic that can be used to pass through obstacles, enemies, or as an air dash, and a little bomb they can activate by pressing F or middle mouse. Most of the time, these controls work very well. However, I did have a minor gripe with how the teleport mechanic worked. Rather than teleporting you based on which movement key you were pressing, it instead teleports you based on where your cursor is placed. So when you want to perform quick teleports in a direction opposite to where your cursor is located, it can take a second to correct your cursor positioning, which can be a death sentence at certain times. As you progress through the levels, you can find gold scattered around that can be used to purchase upgrades for your weapons and abilities. You can also find weapon blueprints and shields hidden around. So while at first the non-linear approach is quite good for the sake of freedom, this does end up causing the difficulty curve to go on a downward slope rather than an upward one. The tutorial level ended up being one of the most difficult levels in the game because whenever I had to fight any of the other levels, my equipment was way better and I had way more powerful weapons. I thought perhaps the final level will be the ultimate test of skill then, but in the end, that was just as easy as any other level because all the weapon upgrades you get are optional. So the final level is designed around the idea that you never found the upgrades because there's a chance that you didn't. So the difficulty is a bit out of whack overall. You'll have to put some personal restrictions on yourself if you don't want the game to get easier as you progress. Anyway, that's about it for the gameplay, so let's move on to the presentation of the game then. Viktor's art style is one that I'm not really sure how to describe. It's got a very cartoony yet gritty sort of look to it, and I think that fits the game quite well. However, certain times the graphics can get a bit annoying. For example, during the ice and lava stages, blue and orange enemies tend to get lost in the background and you only notice them after they attack you. A simple fix for that would probably be just to put the orange enemies in the ice level and the blue enemies in the lava level since the colors pop against each other. Although that example only happens very rarely, and most of the time, the graphics actually add to the atmosphere in the game. Like in the lava level, at the very start you can see off in the distance a monster, and then later on, hey look, it's that monster. That's some very nice foreshadowing done purely visually. Normally in the presentation part of the review, this is where I talk about sound effects and music, but I can't really recall any of the music. It wasn't very memorable, but it didn't detract from the experience at all, so I guess it's passable. That's really all there is to be said about it. Viktor overall is a pretty competent game. There's really not much wrong with it. The biggest downside I can give it is that there isn't that much content to it. I noticed a few certain sections had reused set pieces, and the game comes in at a very short 3 hours, and that's a normal difficulty. But hey, if the worst thing you can say about a game is that there isn't enough of it, that's not too bad of an issue, is it? Anyway, thanks for watching everyone. If you want to purchase Viktor, you can do so on Steam for $9.99. And if you'd like to see more reviews by me, feel free to check out my playlist of reviews that I've done. Or if you want to see more of me, you can either subscribe to my channel or check out Video Game Lads, where I do Let's Plays with MadDragon249 and Ice Bear Judges. We're currently doing Dark Souls.